So guys, September is absolutely stacked for Xboxes. We have some big game releases coming down the pike. We have some awesome Game Pass releases, plus an awesome free-to-play title you're going to want to see. I'm Sonny, your host here at Xbox Central, and we kick this off with Harry Potter Quidditch. And this is that like really awesome, almost like football type game that you guys might remember from the movies or from the books or however you've seen it. But from what I've seen so far, guys, the game looks pretty accurate. It lets you play different roles. You can be the seeker, the beater, the chaser, or the keeper, and enjoy the same intense action that we saw in those Harry Potter movies. You can play this game with your friends in multiplayer or challenge strangers to become really the best player out there. This one's going to be coming out for Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One on September 3rd. So we have the game Parcel Corps. This is a game that turns what many of us kind of look at a very boring task into like an exciting new game. It's a delivery / racing game where you have to deliver parcels on time, and for that you can cut through traffic, ride your way across shortcuts, and even pull off some epic stunts while you're, doing all this awesome stuff. It looks like a game that's really fast paced, and it looks kind of fun. It's coming out on Xbox Series X and S on September 3rd. Now, a game that has me kind of, really interested is this interactive horror drama that throws you into the world of Dead by Daylight, and it's from the makers of those same guys. Instead of that usual cat and mouse chase though from that original game, you're actually thrown into a narrative driven experience, and you're playing as this group of friends uncovering a gruesome and some horrifying realities of this brutal town. Now, the game is pretty dark and it heavily relies on decision making, as your choices can have some pretty grave consequences for the group. If you guys enjoy playing games like The Walking Dead or maybe even The Quarry, and this is one you're going to want to keep an eye out for, this one lands on Xbox Series X and S on September 3rd. So I personally have had a lot of fun with the Prison Architect game. I thought it was a blast, but the upcoming sequel is promising to really take things to a new level. Firstly, it's going full 3D, meaning that we will be creating and managing our prisons with some serious depth and verticality. The gameplay mechanics remain pretty much the same as the original, which is great, but on top of that, we got a brand new career mode that lets you manage multiple prisons across the game world with an advanced like inmate behavior system. It looks really interesting. If you guys enjoyed the first game like I did, I think this sequel is one that you want to keep an eye on. Now, if you want to take a little bit of a break from like your usual truck driving simulators like Euro Truck Sim, and that's a classic by the way, and one that I've personally played a lot, maybe you want something a little bit more refreshing and new, Star Trucker might be that game. This one takes truck driving to space, so instead of delivering cargo through highways, you're actually flying across the open space, but the game's got its own challenges. You will need to learn the ropes of zero gravity driving. You're gonna have to dodge asteroids and follow space traffic laws up in space, which is pretty funny. And then of course you're gonna deal with mechanical problems. This is a great option if you're into this genre, especially if you're somebody who just really likes these types of games, and this is just a different flavor altogether. The cool part too, this one is arriving as a day one game on Game Pass, so if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you have this one to watch out for. So Age of Mythology is bringing back the classic strategy game, and it's one of my favorites because it does remind me of Age of Empires. Now sure, it's a more fantastical than realistic, with your armies being mythical creatures and centaurs and mummies and even the gods from different mythologies, but the original was great, and this retold version basically revives it with a fresh new coat of paint. And there's plenty of new characters and modern gameplay updates, better UI, and a lot more. And the devs even have announced 2 new DLCs lined up after release for this, and guys, the best part is it's coming to Game Pass. All right, we're talking about a very controversial game for me personally. If you've been following the channel, you know I like a lot of sports games. Set to launch this month is going to be NBA 2K25, and just like previous entries, it's going to be bringing you updates and gameplay improvements to keep the series going. We can expect things like new stars, updated rosters, a brand new pro play system, which directly translates to real NBA footage into gameplay movements, which I think is pretty interesting, but I'm not sure if it's going to be a game changer, and it's, we'll see. It's supposed to make the game feel more authentic, but we'll see it when we get it in our hands. I've been a guy who has not been a big fan of this franchise. They kind of nickel and dime its customers, but with that, if you guys are into basketball sims or you love playing like a career mode, honestly, there's nothing better than this. I've played thousands of hours on this franchise, not this game specifically, and I haven't played in years, but it's still one that you're going to watch out for if you're looking for really the best basketball experience out there. So we have Warhammer Space Marines, a much awaited sequel that stirred up quite a bit of buzz around the community, and judging by that like cult following of that first game that's been created over the years, I kind of like understand the hype here, man. fan, Space Marine 2 here looks like it's closely following the same footsteps, only it's keeping it just as short but much more impactful than the first in terms of combat. And I mean, yeah, the original Space Marine felt a little bit repetitive at times, but you really never felt bored because of how awesome the combat was. It didn't let you settle in, and that's what a good hack and slash game is supposed to do. Anyways though, Space Marine 2 is set to drop here really soon on Xbox Series X and S. Now, Test Drive is making a great comeback after 13 years since the last game in the series, and guys, this one is taking things in a different direction. Solar Crown is basically going to be like this open world MMO racing game with social sim elements. You will be racing across the roads of Hong Kong, challenging your friends or strangers from around the world, and while the trailers do look good, the demo on Steam hasn't received a lot of positive reviews, with players really complaining about the optimization issues and some longtime fans feeling like the game's really strayed too far from the original. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how it turns out when the full version drops on Xbox Series X and S, and that's going to be on September 12th. Though real quick, one thing I want to highlight about this game, we're going to be driving on the opposite side of the road. This is something that has terrified me if I ever go to like Europe or anywhere else, so I think I might play this game just on that basis alone, so I can kind of get a feel for how that actually feels in game and see if I can practice that way. But anyways, this will be arriving on September 12th. If you're into city building games, I think Fabledom might interest you. It's a cozy yet cute game that lets you create and manage your own kingdom. It's filled with wonderful buildings, adorable citizens, and of course those mythical creatures. The visual style is quite colorful and inviting. Even the gameplay seems a little bit more intuitive and a little more easy, making it great for players of all ages. If you're interested in Fabledom, it arrives on Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One on September 12th. So I've never gotten to play this Lollipop chainsaw game, but apparently it's a hit zombie slayer with a massive cult following. The original actually came out back in 2012, and after all these years, it's finally getting a remake. Now, this remake brings back the fan favorite cheerleader Juliet and her iconic chainsaw, and she's ready to mow down hordes of zombies. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop brings the same over-the-top action, dark humor, and gore-filled combat back with enhanced visuals and modern gameplay mechanics. This one will be arriving here on September 12th. Now, obviously, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is a game that released for Xbox Series X and S back in April, but it's actually making its way to Xbox One, and I think this is great news for fans who've been waiting for this. It's received obviously a lot of good reviews over, since it's been released for a lot of good reasons. It's got an engaging story, some really awesome lightsaber combat, customizable play style, of course, with some of that, and of course you have a little bit of exploration. You get to visit some iconic landmarks from the movies and even meet some familiar characters. It's a great game that I've really enjoyed besides, Fallen Order, and this one will be arriving finally on Xbox One on the 17th of September. So the Plucky Squire stands out as a unique and innovative take on adventure games, offering a gameplay experience that seamlessly transitions between 2D and 3D worlds. Now, this feature alone makes it kind of unlike anything that I've experienced before. One moment you're maybe jumping around in a 3D world and you're solving puzzles and exploring, and the next you're actually battling out monsters in like a beautiful 2D realm. This dynamic shift keeps the gameplay really fresh and engaging, and it allows for like a variety of playstyles and challenges, which I think is interesting. This one does arrive on the 17th of September for Xbox Series X and S. Alright, so we come to our free-to-play game here. If you guys are into MMORPGs like I am, I'm a big World of Warcraft player, and I love that Xbox now has Activision. By the way, I'm just throwing that out there just for funsies, but this is going to be a free-to-play open world MMO that's kind of like, it kind of plays out like Lineage 2. It's a little different from like Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft. This really does look stunningly gorgeous. It offers a really solid combat system. The quest line seems kind of grindy early on though, at least kind of from the open beta impressions, but I do really dig the combat. It doesn't seem like it's class dependent. Instead, you have different roles depending on the weapons that you yield, which I think is going to make for a lot of fun in group play. This one will be landing, as I said, free to play on Xbox on September 17th. So we have Train Sim World 5. This is the latest entry in the beloved simulation series. This is a game that fans over the time have really loved how train management works, and I think this latest edition brings some cool new stuff, new challenges, roles, cities, routes, really making for even a more immersive experience than ever before. This time you'll get to manage trains across iconic cities like London, Frankfurt, even Los Angeles, and on top of that, you even get to experience the life of a train conductor, doing things like checking tickets, which, man, that sounds like fun, right? Managing the train's operations and making sure that passengers traveling, they feel safe under under your watch, which is really cool. This one does arrive on September 17th. We have another free-to-play game here, and this one's quite different than a lot of games out there. Now, for years, EA's FIFA has ruled the football game genre with no real competition, and that might change now with the new rival UFL coming to town. This is an upcoming football game, or soccer if you're American like me, and hear me when I say this game is actually funded by Ronaldo himself, and this is supposed to rival a game like FIFA. It was also actually supposed to come out back in 2022, but it got delayed to 2023, and now we have this new date, and hopefully it'll stick this time around. Signs are good because we did see an open beta for this back in June, and judging from the looks, it does look like a promising game. You'll be able to play this game both offline and online with friends in 2v2 and 3v3 matches with different modes, and the best part is, again, as I mentioned, it is free to play. This one's landing on September 12th. So I've been watching this game for a while. It's actually got a name that I can't pronounce that well, in Enotria, I think, and for quite a while it's been shaping up to be, looks like a really solid Souls-like game. After really getting a close look at it though during Gamescom, it's clear that this Souls-like game really does have a ton of potential. The game's rich setting and the solid looking combat are definitely highlights, drawing comparisons to recent games like Lies of P. However, it's far from perfect. The demo that released has not really sat well with a lot of players who really complained a lot about the awkward camera angles, the delayed action, and what seemed a little bit of unpolished gameplay. But most of these issues I am hoping can be quickly fixed before release, which I think the final game could still turn out to be a really strong entry in this genre. We'll find out here pretty soon as this one lands on September 19th. Now, if you ever missed out on the fun of slaughtering zombies in the original Dead Rising game, worry not, guys. We're getting another round in Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, and it's bringing back the classic with tons of new updates. And it's not just a simple HD makeover, but a full-fledged remaster with enhanced visuals, ton of gameplay improvements, enhanced NPC AI. There's now auto save mechanics, all coming in with, of course, 4K support at 60 FPS. And this does sound like a solid remaster that I can absolutely get behind. This one will also be coming on September 19th for the current gen consoles. So we have the Karate Kid Street Rumble. This is an upcoming side-scrolling beat-em-up game based on the classic Karate Kid movies. In this game, you'll get a chance to play as your favorite characters like Daniel LaRusso, Mr. Miyagi, or Ali Mills, and each of them come in with their own unique moves and combos. It's almost like a little bit like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but with a karate twist to it, and you'll be picking up and punching your way through waves of enemies in hectic battles. And the best part is you can play this game with your friends in local co-op multiplayer, which I personally love. Street Rumble arrives on Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S on September 20th. Now, Ubisoft is bringing back a brand new Monopoly game to the current gen consoles, and it looks like a massive step up from Monopoly Plus. This comes with a fresh new look and an improved gameplay experience. Of course, the core mechanics are still remaining the same, but it's coming in with a fully animated 3D city at the center of the board, and the game even comes in now with day, night, and weather cycles to really bring that Monopoly world to life. You will, of course, be able to play the game locally with 5 other friends, or actually go online and compete with strangers there. This one's coming out on Xbox on September 26. Now, 63 Days is an RTS that reminds me a little bit of Commandos 2, and that's one of my all-time favorite strategy games, and that's why I'm keeping an eye on this one. And this is set in post-World War II Poland, and you're leading a resistance army fighting for freedom. The gameplay here is pretty much kind of the same as Commandos, where you command a group of soldiers or units with their own skills and abilities, and at the end of the day, it's all about teamwork and making the right moves at the right time. If you guys are into strategy games, real-time strategy games, you might want to keep an eye on this one when it lands on September 26. Alright guys, I am hyped for this. This has caused me a lot of grief on this channel. You guys have given me a lot of hate, but I am a big fan of Starfield, and we cannot forget that Starfield's first massive expansion, Shatter Space, is set to come at the end of the month. This expansion is set to introduce a new star systems, planets, enemies, and even bosses. The story revolves around the mysterious cult of House of Varun, one of the game's most known yet unknown factions as well. And this expansion is really shaping up to bring a lot to this game, and I'm just really excited. This one will be arriving on September 30th, and you guys know I'm going to be there playing this day one. So we have some big news here. If you're a big Final Fantasy person, you love some Final Fantasy. Me personally, I am somebody who loves Final Fantasy VIII, and I'm the only guy in the world, but I loved Final Fantasy Fantasy VII as well. And Jez Corden over at Windows Central recently reported that we might be seeing both Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy 16 coming to Xbox Series X and S. And it's not confirmed yet, but we might get that full confirmation at the Tokyo Game Show, which takes place from September 26th to the 29th. And a good reason for this is possibly that Final Fantasy IV really took off on Xbox. It was a huge hit, and Square Enix was like, hey, waking up to like us Xbox fans. We're like, you can't ignore us, man. We're awesome and we love Final Fantasy over here, so let's hope we get to see it, and we get to see it soon. And another game that looked like it was a rumor for Game Pass, I think this might be confirmed now. Either way, this is like, it's pretty close to official. This was previously leaked by somebody who's been pretty much right every single time he's come out with a rumor. But yeah, this is an awesome open world extreme sports game that lets you enjoy the thrill of biking, snowboarding, skiing. There's even wingsuit flying, all set in a massive, stunning environments. And according to this leaker, it could be out actually here pretty soon on September 11th. I'm really looking forward to this one if it does land. And then finally, we have Persona 3 Reload is getting a brand new DLC that brings a plethora of new content, including costumes, BGM, and a new story to dive into. The extended story actually offers 30 hours of additional gameplay. This DLC is called Episode Aigis The Answer, and it's set to release on September 10th. And with that, guys, if you want a list of the absolute best Game Pass games that you can play right now this fall, you're going to want to check out that video on the screen.